Hey guys, Ethereal here. Today I'm here to talk to you about Counterside. You know, I'm starting to get an idea of where all the decent Korean writers went. Anyway, today's game is a line battler gacha. Sort of. Anyway, I get Civilization Wars vibes from this. This game has a pretty cool setting as far as gacha games go. Now, I know 2 minutes to midnight Apocalypse vibe isn't really new to gacha, but hear me out. One of my favorite things about this game in particular is, or perhaps this year was, its willingness to just write a story in the verse. I don't know how many games have a side story where not only are all the main cast completely absent, but there's 2 to 3 degrees of separation from them. This led to some pretty fun stories, and I really wish they hadn't started converging their stories into the main plot. Like, how many gacha games will just have an event where you're introduced to a completely unrelated new cast, get sold on them, and then the end is just like, they all died. I feel like the writers for this game this year haven't really been in the mood for that, but like one of the best things about starting this game was just picking up a side story and knowing it could go anywhere. Like, none of the characters are safe, the stakes feel real, and the writers still give 100% trying to sell you on the character. They kind of try to do this in Fate, but it doesn't really work as well, since most of the cast are servants, and like most of the time they'll just come back with their memories anyway because of reasons. I really liked the dramatic tension and secondary plot lines they wrote into these stories. Like, the first arc of the main plot was great, but after that it felt like the side stories were far more interesting. They built the world and it just like felt lived in because they were writing stories where things happened that were completely unrelated to the main cast. Like, and even better, they just sometimes write sequels. You have like 2 to 3 parts of a story and everything about it is good and none of it ties into the main story at all. I feel like one of the ways stories can fail at like world building is by tying everything to the protagonist. Like, a lot of the time it feels like nothing gets done, nobody has any motivation outside the protagonist's direct involvement, but the writing for the first couple years of Counterside handily dealt with this problem in probably the best possible way. Anyway, back to the actual setting. Unlike most settings about fending off the coming end times, this one has a unique twist. It's already happened. In fact, the apocalypse has happened so many times, you've lost count. Each time you, the protagonist, press the create new world button and get the hell out of Dodge, escaping death but having to relive the entire history of the world, hopefully making it more ready to deal for the now N+1 apocalypses you have to deal with as everyone is gunning for your new world. Don't worry though, the key feature of this setting being dimensional travel means you and every corporation on the planet can just go back and retrieve old tech from your past attempts. And Skynet is not just trapped on that timeline where you screwed up. Of course. I kind of like what they're doing with some of this. So like alters are kind of just as canon as anyone else, since every time the world goes tits up, you just start the world from zero. So the swords and sorcery version of yourself might even still be alive thanks to some timey-wimey shenanigans or perhaps just pure grit. Help, those goth chicks running a cafe are actually the survivors of, or the descendants of, survivors from a swords and sorcery world. Like, who knows? Did I mention the demons in space cancer? Right, so the basic enemies you get to deal with are called corrupted objects, or COs for short. These lovely fellows have the unique trait of giving anyone they injure, as well as anyone they're nearby who doesn't have some form of resistance, space cancer. What does space cancer do? Well, I'm glad you asked. So it turns you into some form of gibbering chaos spawn, or another CO. Of course, every dimension that isn't the current main one also has the lovely property of just giving you space cancer for being in it if you don't have a kind of resistance. Luckily, some people are pretty much immune as long as they have CRF, or we'll call it mana. Yeah, that works better. Of course, in this setting, if you zero out on mana instead of passing out, you instead become a shadow, which is like a demonic version of yourself with infinite mana that someone else will have to put down. It's no longer your problem, you're dead. Not that killing demons actually does much. There's countless demons, and defeating them usually just sends them further down in the stack of abandoned realities, rather than killing them. You know, I'm getting a lot of 40k vibes from this setting, too. Wouldn't it be crazy if there were demons that tempted mortals in exchange for promises of power, or people who could become immortal demon lords themselves, turning their backs on the greater humanity in pursuit of their own goals? Yeah, wouldn't that be wild? They do? Oh, damn. This place is fucked. Not gonna lie, I have no clue how the current world hasn't collapsed, with downtown demonic invasion being such a regular occurrence it doesn't even make the front page. Anyway, that's kind of my pitch for the game. Thanks for watching, and take care.